Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions and my co-host Stacie here to talk about the original Quantum Leap, Season 4, Episode 18, titled It's a Wonderful Leap. The episode description reads as follows. As a New York cab driver, Sam has to win a contest to get his own taxi medallion. Sam also has the help of a woman named Angelita, who knows about Sam and claims to be an angel. The episode has a teleplay and story credit by Daniel Alexandra. She wrote the screenplay of G.I. Jane and created the series My Two Dads. That's pretty much her only work ever. And a teleplay by Paul Brown. And this episode was also directed by Paul Brown. Only time directing on this series, and this is in fact his directorial debut.
All right.
The episode takes place on May 10th, 1958, and originally aired on April 1st, 1992. And before going any further, I'll tell you a couple of things. One, this is not a sport movie podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you check it out. You go and check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms of this podcast is now available on, please follow and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered, both Quantum Leap related and otherwise. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to our channel. All right, so first up. This is actually our 150th episode.
Yay, 150 as per our IMDb listings.
Yes.
Not 150th video. You've got way more videos than that
Thousands.
if you're looking at the YouTube list. Yeah. But as far as what we consider part of the podcast proper, this is our 150th episode.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
It is indeed.
Our 100th episode was when we met Scott Bakula.
Right. So you know what? Maybe I should have flipped the episodes.
We should have, but it's too late now.
Yeah.
So our 149th episode, which came out a couple days ago, is our trip to meet Scott Bakula for the second time.
Right.
So if you haven't seen that one yet, go check it out. It's 2 hours of us blabbering about how excited we were to hang out with our friends.
Right.
So
if that interests you, go and check it out now. All right. So shout outs this week. Mimi Gallup. She thanks us for the shout out. She just finished watching the rest of season 2 of the reboot. I absolutely love the quote that Ben made at the beginning of Nomad. Toto, I don't think we are in Kansas anymore. What a great line for a leaper. Also one of the rare times that he says something funny. I'm also aware that he handles leaping into women a lot better than Sam did. I think he leaped into a woman more often than Sam did. That is correct. I think that one of my favorite episodes of this series was Ben Interrupted. It takes place in 1954, strangely the same year as Shock Theater. I didn't realize that I would like the show as much as I did. And yeah, Ben Interrupted is quite up there in one of our favorites.
Yeah, that was a good episode. And I'm really glad she finally got to watch the series and enjoy it. I know she had been talking about it for a while.
Yeah, and I think she's so far commented on her episode 1 podcast of that series.
Okay.
Not that I'm going to bring any of that into the discussion because, but still.
If you find some monumental comment that
Yes.
some great thing that we missed, then we can bring it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Alpha, he would like to apologize to Ben Song or Sam Beckett should they end up leaping into his body. Lately, he's found himself listening to a lot of 80s radio stations on his way to work. And anyone leaping into that will be very disoriented and confused, assuming that they're leaping into the 80s. He also says 80s trivia time. Roberto was probably an amalgamation of Geraldo Rivera and Jerry Springer. I'm pretty sure I brought Jerry Springer up last week.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I did or not. But the scene where Roberto and his crew did the live report, which discovered a janitor's closet, was an obvious reference to the most embarrassing moment in Geraldo Rivera's life. On April 21st, 1986, he hosted a special, The Mystery of Al Capone's Vault, where he hyped access to a vault that supposedly was going to show Capone's most prized possessions, or maybe dead bodies, or perhaps IRS documents. For reasons I cannot possibly fathom, he wanted to open the vault for the first time to live on air, and it ended up being an empty room. Millions tuned in to watch his epic bail, including my parents and me. There is an amusing Wikipedia entry on the subject where Geraldo admitted many years later he got tequila drunk that night to drown the shame. That's interesting. I was only 5 years old at the time, so I have no memory of that. But that's
I have
cool.
no memory of it, but I mean, I definitely know that that's something that this
happened.
Episode gets talked about a lot. I mean, that episode took place. I don't have the year in front of me because I'm looking at It's a Wonderful Leap notes now. I was looking like, oh no, that's not right. It took place a few years earlier than the Geraldo thing, but
Gotcha.
But yeah, it definitely was always a talking point at the episode. But I didn't bring it up because I don't have any personal
personal knowledge of
experience
it.
with that. Yeah.
Well, Alpha does, apparently.
But it is all over the episode guide on Al's Place, if anyone wants to go read about it there.
And you know who I forgot to shout out last week?
Who?
Brian Green, who commented on the podcast that he appeared on.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Brian Green said that it was wonderful and very fun appearing with us in person for that podcast.
It was.
And it was. Right back at you, Brian. All right, so moving along. Stacie, your thoughts on this week's episode.
All right, It's a Wonderful Leap. So, one thing, and I don't think I said this on air, but I know I said it to you off mic, was I felt like we did this already. I'm having super deja vu about talking about this episode, and I don't know why.
I mean, maybe it's because I discussed it in our 35th anniversary podcast.
I feel like I've done this. Like, I've done the detailed discussion on this already, and I haven't.
You definitely have not.
I have not. I mean, I think we must have at some point in time ourselves had a detailed discussion about this episode.
I'm sure we have.
But I don't know. I'm just have super deja vu about this one. It's very strange. I was feeling it like the entire time I was taking my notes.
You think it's like a Mandela effect thing?
Maybe.
Maybe we did this in an alternate reality already?
Maybe in a different lifetime this happened earlier in the series and we already covered it. I don't know. So this is the Christmas episode that's not a Christmas episode.
Right.
And that's always been super weird for me. Mm-hmm. Like, to the point where it's hard for me to get over that fact. Because I don't understand why it's not a Christmas episode. I don't understand why this episode takes place May 10th.
And it looks like winter outside, and it's New York.
It looks like winter in New York. Everybody's wearing coats. Mm-hmm. You don't wear coats in New York in May. Like, heavy coats, not spring coats.
Right.
They're wearing winter coats. Obviously, the title, It's a Wonderful Leap, is a reference to the Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Mm-hmm. We have the accident taking place on 34th Street, and we call it a miracle.
Right.
Which is another reference to a Christmas movie. Mm-hmm. The contest is to first person in the year who can reach this amount of money, and it expires tomorrow, which means it should be the end of the year.
Right.
And even if we're talking an accounting year that doesn't run through December, I've never heard of any accounting that closes its books on May 11th, mm-hmm. no matter what type of accounting you're using.
Right.
So I don't get it. I don't get why
I think the problem
this takes place in May.
I think the problem is that somebody somewhere along the line should have caught the fact that this episode should not be in May. It should be more like December or January.
Right.
And they did not.
It didn't air in December either. It aired in, April? I don't have that date, but I think it was April.
No, that's April 1st, 1992.
Yeah, so
this is an April Fool's joke.
There we go. Maybe when they were writing it, it was being written as a Christmas special, but then where they placed it, it ended up in April.
Yeah.
But even in the episode, we're talking about, it's May 10th.
Right.
Like, was that... Maybe the script originally, it wasn't May 10th, but because we're airing it in April, they didn't want to say it's Christmas?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, it's just so bizarre to me. The Christmas episode, that's not a Christmas episode.
Yeah, this for me is other than that, which is a problem, this is a classic episode for me. This is actually the first episode, and I mentioned this before, that I ever saw live.
That's right.
Did
you see it on April Fool's Day?
I don't recall. Well, yeah, because
you saw it during
first run. Yeah.
So did it feel like an April Fool's joke?
No.
Is Quantum Leap in its 35 years of existence just one giant April Fool's joke for Dave?
Maybe. But yeah, at the time I was just really confused. I was like, I don't know, 92, I would have been about 11. I was walking into the area where my uncle and my parents, my Uncle Gary, were watching the Quantum Leap episode, and I was really confused why Al was able to walk through things. And
well, this would be a hard one to take for a first, because this is one where the rules get broken.
Right.
So that would be weird to step into this here.
But it nevertheless intrigued me, even though I didn't know what the heck was going on, and I continued watching the series, obviously. And I eventually ended up catching a marathon where I got caught up on all the episodes.
I'm sure not all of them.
Most of them.
Yeah.
There are some ones that I know for a fact that I did not see first run.
They never ran them quite like that back when there were marathons of shows. There were always episodes that got skipped and episodes that got played way more frequently than others.
Right. Like, I'm pretty sure I didn't see Running for Honor. And I think I missed most of the first season. I don't think I saw all those episodes until the DVD came out. Though I saw a few of them. I did see Genesis. I did see The Color of Truth, so on and so forth. But yeah, so this has a special meaning to me, this particular episode, because it was actually the first episode that I ever watched live.
All right.
All right, so do we have anything to say before just diving right in?
I think I'm ready to go for it.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, so the episode begins with Sam driving in a cab. He checks himself out in the mirror and then finds himself accidentally running someone over. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Credits. Do you happen to have the mirror image?
I do. The mirror image for Max is played by Ross Partridge. He was recently in the movie Don't Look Up. He's also in 3 episodes of Billions and 4 episodes of Stranger Things.
All right.
As well as lots of other credits. He's got a much larger filmography than a lot of our mirror image actors do.
When we come back, Sam desperately tries to save the woman he ran over. Finding no pulse, he attempts CPR and then gets punched by the woman who regains consciousness.
Yeah, because he was basically, like, hitting her. I don't know what he was doing, but it wasn't CPR. I don't know if this is some version of CPR, but it doesn't look like any CPR I've ever seen.
It's TV CPR.
Yeah, but he was, like punching her.
She gives her name as Angelita, and she's played by
Angelita Carmen Guadalupe Cecilia Jimenez, to be exact.
She's played by Liz Torres, 129 credits for her, including the John Larroquette Show. She was a regular on that show. An episode of Empty Nest and Murphy Brown.
She was in 79 episode of Gilmore Girls.
Oh, okay.
With Scott Patterson.
Yeah, okay.
Who I bring up because he's in another show we cover.
That would be Sullivan's Crossing, which is coming back soon.
Which
we will be devoting our time. Oh, so I think I should probably say that, actually. So our intention is to try and finish up the season.
Season 4 of Quantum Leap.
Season 4 of Quantum Leap, before we get too busy.
In the fall lineup.
Yeah, like once October comes along, we're not going to be able to continue talking this show. So once those shows come back, this show is going to go on the back burner and will be coming back eventually.
Our Quantum Leap will have a hiatus.
Yes.
But we'll still be covering lots and lots of other great things.
Yes, absolutely.
Liz was also in 7 episodes of All in the Family and 20 episodes of Phyllis, which is a spin-off of the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Okay. So Sam marvels that she's alive after feeling no pulse. He wants her to see a doctor, but she says she's fine, which she demonstrates by dancing around.
Yeah, and this is where we're told that this was a miracle on 34th Street that just happened.
Sam talks to the dispatcher. His father, Lenny, is waiting for him. And she says that he will be disqualified from the contest if he works more than a double shift.
Yeah, and the dispatcher, her name is Elizabeth. And she is played by Robin Freites. She was in an episode of Beverly Hills 90210 and 2 episodes of Silk Stockings.
Okay. Sam tries to figure out where she lives, but she implies that she is homeless. Sam breaks to avoid Al, who's appearing 7 minutes and 35 seconds into the episode. Angelita yells at Sam for stopping like that, and Sam asks what the address for the company is. Al and Angelita give contradictory answers, and she turns out to be the right one. She says to go right, or it's right, and Al tells him to go left.
Well, before we even get that far, we're looking for the address itself. So they're looking for the card for the cab company, and Al says it's in the glove box. Angela says it's in the ashtray. Why didn't Al just ask Ziggy where the cab company is? Why are they looking for the card?
Right.
But once we got the address from the card, that's when they argued about where that address is. Again, why is Ziggy not giving us directions? This is one thing that I'm going to credit the pilot of the revival series is doing well, is right in that episode we had Ben needing directions how to drive somewhere, and Addison was able to pull that information up from Ziggy.
Right.
Ziggy is, at least as powerful as Google Maps.
That's good. I mean, Ziggy is not any better than that in the new series, but yeah.
But Ziggy didn't have that capability here, apparently. I guess the 1989 writers weren't, or what are we at, 92 now? They weren't ready for Google Maps.
I guess not.
They didn't comprehend that being that easy to do, I guess.
So Lenny waits back at the shop playing cards. Lenny is played by Jerry Adler, 60 credits for him, including Mad About You. He was a semi-regular on that series, and including in the revival of that series. The Good Fight, and he was Toby Ziegler's dad in The West Wing. Sam's boss is played by Peter Iconangelo, 71 credits for him. He was the voice in Look Who's Talking Now, an episode of Family Matters, and his last credit was Lou in Fight Club. That was basically a mobster.
And the character name is Frank O'Connor. He Frank O'Connor Jr. He has just inherited this cab company from his father.
He died on November 12th, 2021 at the age of 73. He says if Max doesn't get back soon, he's going to be disqualified, but Lenny thinks his son is going to win. Frank thinks Lenny is a big talker, and with a fake good humor says it would be worth him winning if it meant he would go too. Sam arrives back and gets the door.
And we learned that he only needs $50 more to reach the $15,000 mark. But there's only one day left in the contest.
Right.
He has a lot of confidence, Lenny, that his son's gonna pull this off when we're down to the very last day.
Right. Sam arrives back and gets the door for Angelita. Al and her have an antagonistic relationship even before they know that she can actually see him. He runs into Lenny, and Angelita takes him away to mingle. Sam arrives. Oh, Sam gives Al the. Oh, no. Al gives Sam the rundown.
Yeah, I mean, Sam gives a lot of it. He always does.
Right.
But yeah, this is the part where Al's supposed to be helpful and isn't.
Right. He's not helpful in this episode at all. In fact, he's wrong more often than he's right.
I mean, that's
episode.
the point. Is usually he's got the info, and all of a sudden there's this other person who just knows better than he does. And
right.
I think that's why he doesn't like her.
Probably. Al speculates that Angelita threw herself on front of her car on purpose, that people do that to get like millions of dollars. Sam has him do a check on her and comes up with nothing. Angelita tells Sam that she should not be listening to the devil and says, and then they're like, what devil are you talking about? And she says, the one in the horrible red suit. So now they know she can see Al.
Right. And all this means for Al is he thinks Angela's crazy, because we've already established that people with lowered mental capacity can see Al sometimes. So he's like, that's all it is. If you didn't know before, like now you know she's insane.
Right.
So don't listen to anything she has to say.
Al and Angelita now are able to have their tiff out loud.
And they argue about fashion style.
Right.
Which is definitely an interesting conversation to see to see Al and somebody argue about the clothes, because they're both wearing pretty crazy clothes for either time period they're in.
Well, not helping Al's opinion of her, she ends up revealing that she is an angel. And she leaves them to be, so she leaves them, and Al is skeptical, where Sam isn't so sure. He thinks it might be true. Al tells him he's there for Max. He's in a contest to get the medallion for his cab, and he has till midnight the next day to do it. But tomorrow night, Max gets shot.
He gets shot, and he's left comatose for the rest of his life.
That's sad. He's a stone throw away from getting the money to win the contest. All he needs is $50. Sam realizes if he drives tomorrow, he will get shot. Al says he has to drive, otherwise he will not get the medallion. Meanwhile, Lenny is inviting Angelita for dinner. And we cut back to the apartment, where Lenny and Max apparently live. And she apparently does not eat. She says it's because she's an angel. And Angelita reveals how they met, how Sam and her met. And Lenny is very amused. He offers cheers to new friends and his son being his own man, because he thinks he's going to win this contest. Sam joins Al in the kitchen. Ziggy hasn't yet found info on Angelita. Al thinks if she's an angel, then she really blew it in the original timeline.
Right, because Max got shot.
Right.
And, sorry. I had a thought and I lost it. I can't find it in my notes, but what I think it was something along the lines of Sam thinks that, one of them suggested that maybe that's why, I guess it would have been Sam, because he's the only one who thinks she's an angel, that he leapt in to clean up her mistake. Not that he's here. She was sent to fix the mistake, and now he's sent to clean up her mistake.
Right. And basically that's what Sam thinks.
Suggesting this kind of overlapping mission, of what if everything I do is just to clean up things that other people weren't able to do.
And Al says if that's true, then there's a bunch of slacker angels being bad at their jobs, kind of like Al himself is. And and Sam is here fixing all their mistakes. You know what? there is a theory within the fandom that that's exactly what Quantum Leap is all about.
Right. I mean, it's noteworthy because of Strappa.
Yes, exactly.
Who was he?
Yeah.
He's somebody who died 20, 30 years before that episode took place.
Right.
And he leaped in, but then when he leaped out, nobody remembered he existed.
Right.
Just like Angela. Now, we don't see Angela leaping in or out, but maybe that's how angels work.
Perhaps.
You know, maybe Strappa was strictly an angel. And by Sam using his machine to leap, he's just locked onto angel technology. Even though, you know, he's not dead.
Right. Lenny interrupts and catches Sam talking to himself. Al ends up leaving. Lenny is in a good mood because of Angelita. And then they hear her playing the piano. The piece turns out to be the same song playing when Lenny met his late wife.
Yeah, this is their song, and he hasn't heard the piano being played since she passed. And he gets really emotional.
What's really interesting is this is a curious connection between this episode and the West Wing appearance, because he had a similar moment as Toby's father in that episode where he's hearing music and having a memory from way back when. So it's interesting that motif played out again when he appeared in the West Wing, which is a show I also watch in case you didn't know. When he goes to be alone, Angelita says before she came here she learned all about his family. And of course, it's not his family. It's not Sam's family. It's Max's family.
Right. Which is interesting because later she'll say that she's really here for Sam.
Right.
So she learned all about Sam and Max, I guess.
Or maybe she was just saying that to maintain her cover, so that he did not know that she knew who he actually was.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, obviously she learned about Max's family because she learned the song.
Right. Sam goes to comfort Lenny and talks about the picture that he's looking at, which is when he and his wife were 18. He says he waited 42 years to get the medallion, and he's pretty confident that Sam will not let him down. Sam wants to drive Angelita somewhere, but she says she's comfortable right here. And Sam says, okay, but tomorrow we're going to go and find you a permanent place to live.
How did he already establish she didn't have anywhere to go? Where do you think he's going to drive her to it, like, late at night?
And how is he going to spend the time doing that? Because he's supposed to be winning a contest.
Yeah.
Of course, unless Sam does not believe that he's there solely to win that contest, but also to help her.
He thinks he has said he thinks he's here to help her, whether she's an angel or not. He wants to find her a place to live and all of that. But, like, trying to, like, kick her out, like, it's probably 10 o'clock at night now, kick her out of the house and send her somewhere now seems against any mission you're trying to accomplish.
Right. Are you just going to drive her to the street somewhere?
Right.
Like, yeah, so it's a little weird.
You think you'd want to keep her in your sights if you think she has something to do with this.
Right. Sam and Angelita drive around in the morning. Al appears much to her disappointment.
And she has tickets to see West Side Story. She's very excited to do that.
Okay. So is Scott Bakula in that play?
No, I don't think so.
No, probably not.
No.
Has he ever been in West Side Story?
Probably not. I mean, especially since her main reason for wanting to see it is that they are Puerto Ricans.
Oh, okay. So he found someone named Angelita who died in 1928. And she says, oh boy. Al and Angelita continue to argue. She's not a fan of Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life, because every time she appears, they are always asking for Clarence. She describes how she died, which happened during a concert, and she went a splat.
Yeah, she was singing on Broadway and went a splat, taking a 15-foot dive into the pits. It's something I was worried about watching Man of La Mancha. They had that big pit right in the floor, and I was like, how do they not trip?
You're worried about witnessing Scott Bakula's death?
I mean, just acknowledge, like, we were sitting pretty close, acknowledging, right. Like, look at that hole in the floor.
Right.
Where, the hole is where the conductor is down there. And I don't know, that's got to be a whole, like, and I get that they have their marks they got to meet, but they're dancing, they're moving around, they're looking out at the audience. They're not staring at their feet the whole time.
Right.
I know I would trip and fall in the hole.
Me for sure. Definitely. I'm right there with you. So she ended up an angel because she had too big of an ego, but though that's not what she said. She says like something like ego my waffles, perhaps. She keeps mispronouncing things and getting phrases wrong. She knows something bad is going to happen to him, but she doesn't know what. After she's completed her assignment, everyone will forget about her.
It sounds an awful lot like leaping.
It does.
I mean, this is pretty much what Sam deals with. He knows he's here to fix something, but doesn't know what.
Yep.
Most of the time.
Right. And Al's like, all right, I've had enough. If you want to talk to me, you can talk to me outside of the cab. So Sam makes a special stop just to go and talk to Al.
Right.
But Angelita gets out of the car anyway, so that was kind of pointless. Sam is buying in, Al not so much.
Yeah, he's like, it all makes sense, how she is wearing old clothes, and she doesn't eat, and she didn't get a scratch on her in that accident.
I should note that this week Al is a skeptic.
Right.
Yeah, as opposed to Ghost Ship, where he very much believed in the Bermuda Triangle. And then we go to Temptation Eyes, where he's suddenly the skeptic. Maybe this is just this particular thing that he doesn't believe in.
This particular topic, because we know that Al has a very complicated relationship with religion.
That's fair enough.
So while the idea of angels does kind of fall in line with all of these other, out there topics, it also is very closely linked to religion, which we know he has some issues with. So I can see it, where he wouldn't want to believe in angels.
All right.
I get it.
And then we have our Donald Trump cameo as a boy, along with Fred Trump. This was actually parodied many years later, with Scott Bakula reprising the role on the Today Show, I believe. Fred Trump is played by Vaughan Armstrong, 99 credits for him, including Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and a regular on Enterprise. Donald Trump is played by Justin Thompson. 9 credits for him, including Battle of Shaker Heights, which was a episode of Project Greenlight, or a season of Project Greenlight, where they covered a movie that was being made, and an episode of Boy Meets World.
Yes, and then the person that opens the door for them and announces that this is Mr. Trump, he's credited as young executive. That actor is Ed Wasser. He was in 15 episodes of Babylon 5 and an episode of Sliders.
Oh, okay. They have $40, only 10 more to go. Al appears to tell him that the robbery is going to happen anytime soon, but he's nowhere near where the original robbery happened, so they speculate that perhaps the robber is actually following him.
Yeah, so it was supposed to happen 2 hours from now in a totally different place. Suddenly history's changed. Why is it changed? And now we know, well, it wasn't just a random robbery. There's something bigger going on here. And just avoiding that spot isn't going to do the trick.
A car turns its lights out, so they swerve to avoid that car. They go down an alleyway that Angelita says is a dead end. Al says it's not, but of course Angelita is right, because Al is always wrong in this episode.
Right.
And the car drives by them, so they think they're good. But then the robber happens upon them, basically goes to the window, and Angelita ends up approaching the robber as they are out of the car.
Yeah, and I didn't understand this. So before the other car drove away, he sent Angelina out of the car. He gave her the money. She's got the money. She's hiding.
Yeah.
Why did she come out?
Right.
She comes out and gives the robber the money.
Right.
Like, if she kept hiding, he wouldn't have found the money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess maybe Sam would have got shot. She came out to keep him from getting shot. She got shot instead.
Yes.
But, I don't know. Why did you come out of hiding? Or why didn't you leave the money in hiding so he couldn't have the money?
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. Perhaps it's so that what happens in the ending of this episode happens.
Well,
but
yeah.
Then she doesn't have a crystal ball. She doesn't know how this is going to play out. So, yeah, I see all your points.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so she ends up getting shot. She falls. Sam looks for her bullet wounds, but she just starts laughing.
Yeah, he just ends up tickling her.
Sam realizes there's a bullet hole in her coat, but nothing in her. And Sam has changed history. He's not shot, but he still needs to get the $50, or he still needs to win the contest.
Right.
He goes back to base, and Frank feigns sympathy for his situation. Sam wants the medallion anyway, but Frank isn't biting. He says he can actually get more money for the medallion on the street than he would giving it away. Sam only manages to talk himself into getting fired in the scene. Sam returns home to Lenny to give him the bad news that he lost and was fired, and about the robbery.
And it's so sad because Lenny has a cake for him and this sign up with their name on it. I forget what their name is. No. Greenman Cab Company. And he's got to tell him, no, not only did I fail, I got fired.
Right.
It's all bad news. There's no good news.
Right. Well, he's not dead, so there's that.
Yeah, but, I mean, they didn't know he was supposed to.
Right,
So.
fair enough. They soon realize that Lenny is missing.
Well, yeah, we see what happens. He loads a gun, and he leaves out an insurance policy for his son to find.
Angelita thinks he's going to go kill himself. Al thinks that he's going to go kill Frank because he knows that if he commits suicide, the insurance policy would be no good.
Right, there's a suicide clause in the insurance policy, but Angela doesn't understand that.
Right.
Because she's watched It's a Wonderful Life, which is about trying to kill yourself to get insurance money.
Right, so that movie did no one any favors, apparently. So Sam chooses the Frank option, and Al turns out to be right for the first time in this episode. Frank is about to leave, but he's intercepted by a violent Lenny. His secretary calls for the police. Sam arrives at the scene. The cop says that this is all his fault and reacts to Angelita.
And this is Sergeant McCann. He's played by Frank Girardo. He was in 6 episodes of Law & Order and 2 episodes of Law & Order Criminal Intent.
Yeah, I couldn't quite figure out which of the cops he was, but yeah.
Well, that was the only one that had lines.
Okay, I thought there was another cop credited.
No.
I guess I'm wrong. Okay.
Not according to the credits I have, anyways.
All right.
But you never know, because there have been mistakes in places we found before.
Right. Oh, speaking of which, I should shout myself out for being right last week in the date.
You were
of
right.
The episode.
But it wasn't my fault. It was Brian's fault.
Yes, it was all Brian Green's
It really
fault.
was. And I have a screenshot to prove it, because the second I showed him that screenshot, he fixed it, so the wrong date is no longer on Al's place.
Hey, did I get credit for that, by the way?
But I do have a screenshot of before it was fixed, that the wrong date was at the top of the episode guide, which is where I had grabbed it from.
Where am I? I lost my notes.
Police. So Sam's gonna go talk down his dad.
Yes. So Frank tells. Okay, no. Yeah. So they're preparing to storm the castle, but Sam goes in to try to talk his father down. He talks to Lenny and tells him that he knows how to get the medallion, and he ends up talking him down, but not before Frank tries to shoot them.
Yeah, well, so Lenny gives Sam the gun. Frank shoots anyways. Doesn't hit anybody, though. He just blows out the window of the office. That's probably going to cost him a bit.
Yes, but he's going to jail, so it doesn't matter. Frank tells his story to the cops. Al and Angelita agree on something for a change, that he is lying. Sam thinks Frank was responsible for the robbery and puts it all together. Sam points out that Frank's gun was the same used in the robbery and that the cop reacted to Angelita because he was the one that robbed him in the first place. And so Lenny ends up getting probation.
Oh, I see where your problem is. You think it's a cop that did it.
Okay, so that was not a cop.
That was one of the cabbies.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw him in a uniform of some type.
No, well, yeah, he's wearing a cabbie uniform. They have uniforms because it's 1950s.
Well, that's why I couldn't figure out why
so
he was.
He has like a badge on his shoulder, like identifying him as an official cab driver that has a medallion and is legally allowed to drive people.
Gotcha.
It's a little easier nowadays to drive people. You just like sign up for an app.
Right.
And I don't know which of the cabbies he is. There are 3 of them in this episode. Tony, Lucky, and Mo. I'm not sure which one it is, but it was one of the cabbies that was the one that Frank had sent to do the robbery.
Gotcha.
So let me just run down them really quick, and then we can finish out the last couple minutes here. Tony is played by Jack R. Orend. He's in an episode of Freaky Links and an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Lucky is played by Milt Keegan. He was in the movie Brewster's Millions and an episode of Airwolf. And then Mo is played by Douglas McHugh. He was in the but Candyman and an episode of Night Court.
Gotcha. All right, so Lenny ends up getting probation. Frank gets charged and gets probation himself, but he's forced to surrender the medallion to Max. And Max and Frank start a business together. Max and Lenny. What did I just say?
Frank's the boss.
Yes.
That's not a partnership that's going to happen.
No.
So yeah, they get their own cab company like they dreamed of, and they only ever get one taxi, but that's all they wanted, and they're happy.
Angelita isn't there anymore. Sam goes to find her, and she's walking away. Angelita says it's her time to leave, and she reveals that Al will remember her, but no one else in this time will. Because Al is not actually part of this time.
Right, he's not really here.
Sam, she knows he's Sam,
Yeah, she says, I'll always remember you, Sam.
Yeah.
And they're really shocked by this.
Right.
They shouldn't be.
Right. I mean, at numerous times, Al calls Sam.
Right.
So she could have easily overheard that. But she says that, who do you think I was really here to look after? And, of course, she was there to protect Sam.
Right. Giving a wink and a nod that, yeah, she is in on all of this. She does know he's a time traveler. She really is an angel. Of course, that's all still speculation because we don't see her appear or disappear. It is totally possible she is just a crazy woman who is homeless.
Except that we do see Sam
That's true.
forget.
That's true.
But then again, he could just be screwing with Al 100%. And we won't actually ever know that whether he was actually faking the memory thing or not.
Yeah, so Sam instantly forgets that she exists, asking who that woman is that's waving at him, and Al remembers her, so he finally believes that she's an angel. They've completely flipped
it's also
this.
noticeable that Al keeps being like, you're not going to just let her walk away, are you? They've had an antagonistic relationship this entire episode, and Al basically hates Angelita, and he's now concerned about her well-being towards the end of this week, which I found very interesting.
Well, I think he did like her.
Yeah?
I think that he hated her in an I like her kind of way.
Okay.
You know, I think he was pulling on her pigtails a little bit.
Okay, so maybe he was attracted to her?
I mean, not necessarily, but I think he respected her.
Gotcha.
Like, he's fighting with her, in a friendly way. Like, oh God, I hate this woman, but that means I adore her because I respect her, but I'm not going to admit that.
Kind of like a Mrs. Wu situation who will tell you that she hates someone, and Kenny points out the fact that the ones that you say you hate are usually the ones you like the most, kind of deal? Okay.
Exactly.
And of course, if you don't get the reference, that's of course from our show.
That's from.
Which you should totally check out.
Go check it out. We got Brian Green watching it.
Yes, we do.
He's watching it now. He's on episode 6, I think he said.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Yes.
So I shared a thing recently from Lost, and I was kind of a little bewildered that like everybody that liked it was our Quantum Leap people. And I was like, oh, yeah, our Quantum Leap people are our Lost fans, and they really need to be watching From.
Right.
Because From is just Lost 2.0.
Right.
So if you like Lost and you haven't watched From yet, please go watch From. It's on MGM+.
I did it in reverse. I started watching From, and then because of our conversations, went back and checked out Lost, which I initially didn't watch because I was afraid it was going to end up too much like The X-Files, where it would drag the story on forever and just gonna go off the rails like the X-Files eventually did with its mythology. But I'm happy to say that when I did finally watch Lost, that was not the case, even though a lot of people think that it is. But yeah, it does.
That's a different conversation.
Yes, and one that we should not be having here. But anyway, that's it for this episode. Do we have anything else to say?
So Sam leaped. He leaped into Moments to Live.
Yes, which I already have notes for because
that's right.
I wrote
You're ahead of the game. I'm not ahead of the game.
I wrote those for the summation for owlsplace.com, Owl's Quantum Leap fan site. Owl's Place Quantum Leap fan site.
There you go.
All right, I got it right.
Something like that.
Yes.
Owl's Place.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've watched it recently.
Yep.
So you can't give a new opinion on it because you already watched it
No,
again.
but I don't think my opinion really changed much. I do happen to like that episode.
Well, I can let you guess why I like that episode.
Because it's based on a soap opera?
No, because it fits right into the timeline where I'm comfortable.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think it takes place it takes place later, but it's got a lot of like oldies music in it.
Gotcha.
So it's the music for me. That's what does it for me.
Okay.
Is what music is in an episode. And it's got a lot of older music.
Gotcha.
So there's that.
The husband, Vince Taylor Pruitt, plays him. I think that's the name. I might have that name backwards. But yeah, he's appeared in plenty of things like House, The X-Files, and he's an actor I'm pretty familiar with. So it's going to be interesting talking about him next week. All right, so do we have anything else to say?
I don't have anything else to say about this episode. But again, go watch the video about our trip to see Scott Bakula in Man of La Mancha if you haven't watched that yet. And we'll be back next time to talk about Moments to Live.
Looking forward to it.
And hopefully we'll get through these next few episodes before we have to take a break. I'm a little skeptical that we will. Our schedule's toppling over on top of us. I'm feeling a little panicked, but we'll do our best.
We'll get through it. Anyway, we would like to hear from you. Stacie, can be reached at?
I can reach on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Threads at TV and Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join one of my Core Productions Facebook pages. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy. You can join the Core Productions membership for 99 cents a month. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell so that you get notified when new content drops. This is Dave and Stacie from Core Productions, signing off.